IsItBullShit. Nobody really knows what they're doing, and we're all just pretending we do until we make it. If I've learned one thing in my time as an adult, it's that nobody has a goddamn clue what they're doing. As much as I know this is true, I still let my anxiety get to me and become paralyzed because I don't want to come off as though I don't know what I'm doing. I wish I had more upvotes. I have a career, house, wife and 3 kids, and I'd fight this feeling all the time. I had a bad trip one time because I realized everyone trusts everyone to not kill each other / have some clue of what's going on. When I realized no one has any clue, it was pure terror. Like that scene from The Shining when Danny is dreaming about Red Room. It's truly amazing the amount of actually really good life lessons and understandings I've gleaned from various psychedelics. Not saying any amount of edibles or DXM could make Hitler take up painting again and give up the old public speaking kill fest, but it does you better than alcohol, that's for sure. The question is a bit of a paradox. For it to not be bullshit, you would need someone to claim it is bullshit because they have to pretend to know what they're doing. But if someone is claiming it's not bullshit, then they're not pretending to know what they're doing, in which case it is bullshit. On top of that, you have no way to tell who's pretending and who's being honest. Exactly. And we could also differentiate people who are aware of not knowing what they are doing from people who are not aware that they have no clue about what they are doing. Thus we could say that because you know you live in a senseless world, you know what you are doing. The first time for everything, and in early adulthood, pretty much, over time and repeated adulting, if you have sufficient intelligence to learn from your errors, you get the hang of it. There's still situations that will be like this in middle age though. A little bit true. Nobody knows everything and everybody is pretending to be something to some degree. Also a little bit bullshit. Nobody is pretending all the time. And this phrase is a bit of millennial postmodern trite. There are plenty of times where I know what I'm doing. When I make my favorite pasta or write a love letter to my girlfriend, I'm not pretending anything. Everybody fakes it sometimes and everybody has something where they've made it. Plenty of people know what they're doing, at least on some things, but life is complicated and there is a lot we have to intuit and work towards. Definitely, there are plenty of people out there who absolutely know what they're doing and are very good at doing it. Do they question themselves about whether or not they're doing a good enough job? Of course. But that doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. Besides, your question answers itself. If people are faking it till they make it, then by definition there are some people who've made it and are not longer faking it. Fake it till you make it. You think grown-ups have it figured out? That's a hustle. We make it up as we go along. Just like you. Kit, John Goodman as Lawrence Swalsey in Matinee, one of my favorite quotes. And one that really opened my eyes as I was becoming an adult when the film was released. True, in the sense that no one knows the ultimate meaning of life. Although at some point we all have to make a guess as to what that meaning is. Then we develop a purpose and go for it. All of this is formed in our minds with incomplete information about the universe and existence in general. If the constructed reality is sufficient, a person will make it through life with less existential challenges and seem more confident. But it is often those who ignore the deeper questions of life, either by choice or intellectual inability, who are more confident and, typically, less accepting of those who struggle with existential questions. They would be the ones who say they aren't faking it. I'm gonna call bullshit on this one. While it's true that some don't know what they're doing, but act like they do, there's also a sense and respond to change approach. I try my best to realize I have almost zero real control over my life. There are always stronger and more influential forces on my life than I can ever be. So what now? Sense and respond to change. There are a million curveballs thrown at you at any given time. See how many you can hit. Don't sweat the outcome. Everybody gets curveballs. Nobody gets exactly the same curveballs. Nobody hits the same number of them. It's anyone's game. Just do the best you can with what you're given. In that sense, you can know what you're doing, your best. Well, I know what I'm doing. So yeah, it's bullshit. Depends on the person, I guess. As a kid, I always thought there would be an age that you would eventually change and be an adult. When you're a kid, most adults seem to have the answers to everything. But as you get older, you realize that's not true. You don't really feel older, besides like physical problems eventually, and you don't really know everything. You realize everyone is just doing shit, and if it works it does, and if it doesn't they try something else. I never knew what I'm doing. I just signed up for college for a major I think I know about. Now I'm in my second year and just winging it. That's what life is about. We are never in control. Anything unthinkable can happen at any moment, good or bad. The less complex the task, the more people know what they are doing. In retail/food service industries, for example, it's easy to differentiate those who know/are good from those who aren't. As you get into jobs with more gray areas, project coordinators, managers, lawyers, accountants, it's easier to hide in the mess of complexity in the world. Of course it's bullshit. Some things just aren't that hard to figure out. The longer you spend doing something, the better you know it. If you've been working in the same capacity for 20 years, yeah, you might get thrown a curveball every now and again. But you probably know how to deal with it. What's important is that nobody starts out that way. Nobody starts out in a position as an expert. The most confident people you'll ever meet have found themselves scared shitless. The most qualified people sometimes worry if they are good enough for changing responsibilities. Comfort isn't something to idealize. Comfort doesn't mean you're good or valuable. Comfort means you've stopped growing. I want my job to scare the shit out of me. I want to feel like I'm not good enough for my duties because I want to prove myself wrong. If I fail, I'll do better next time. If things could have gone better, I'll know what to do differently in the future. When I go to work and know that everything will be fine. When the plan goes to shit and I don't break a sweat, that's when it's time to move on. Nothing more to gain here. I've always said it's not what you know that makes you successful, but rather how you pretend you do. I used to say it as a joke, but as I observed people around me in the workforce, you can actually see it's true. It's one of those questions where the answer is subjective and not straightforward. Say, if someone claims they know what they are doing, someone else can easily counter that and suggest that the person is misguided in this assertion. Who is answering and who is listening makes a ton of difference when answering this question. We change our perceptions about us and others all the time. While I'd like to claim I have a better idea than most others with what I'm doing with my life, I cannot really prove it. I don't know if I'm doing anything right. Is there even a right? Whose standard of adulting are we following? What is the standard? I don't know. Is it just a matter of living? What's your definition of living? Does success tie into this? A sense of accomplishment? Is it just having all the bills paid? The need to travel? Or is it defined by someone outside of ourselves? Is satisfaction transient? Does making it come and go? Who knows? I would say there's some validity on your statement, and that I'm likely heading into an existential crisis. You keep doing you, Opus. While there's no shortage of people pretending to know more than they actually do, it isn't true that nobody really knows what they're doing. Think of surgeons. You can't just fake your way through brain surgery. Granted, the most skilled people are also the ones who have to constantly study and practice to maintain their skills. Overall, even if the greatest minds the human race has ever produced all sat down and linked their brains together, the things they don't know would probably dwarf the things they do. Overall, life is pretty goddamn confusing for us humans. We can get along day to day and understand things like how to run a successful business, but even people who know a lot about a subject only know a lot about one single subject, and it usually took them a good chunk of their limited life to gain even that. It depends on the question. Big picture life, there's just too many variables. So of course we're just bumbling along. Small picture, I'm ducking confident I can reheat this pizza. I'd have to agree. As a working adult, I've found, as long as you do your shit confidently, People assume you know what you're doing. Then once you do know what you're doing, boredom sets in, and it's best to move on and hopefully make more money doing the boring shit for someone else. And the cycle begins. Another way to look at this, every surgeon, pilot, seer, policeman, firefighter, astronaut, etc at some point in their lives had performed surgery, fly a plane, lead a company, fight crimes and fire, or sit in a spaceship, having never done it before. Every human being comes out of a woman without any knowledge of the world around them, and is forced to figure it out from there to survive or thrive. Depends on your ego/self-esteem. Yes, as a young and naive 21-year-old finishing college, I thought my teachers were basically always right and couldn't fail. Then while presenting my final work, which went pretty bad, I realized they didn't care, were bored, had no patience, asked the wrong questions, didn't bother to understand much of what I was doing, like half of them just didn't care, played with their phones, talked over me, etc. I realized that some of them were less aware than some of my peers, and we were pretty much all the same. I know what I want, bitch. Keep grinding. Not really true. Plenty of people know what they're doing. There are a ton though that are pretending. Most places I've worked it usually feels like 20% of the people do 80% of the work, or more. Those are the people that know what they're doing. Worked for me. High school dropout that now has a high paying income working in a specialized field calibrating CNC machines. Certain people in certain situations know what they're doing, but even then anything can always go wrong. Plenty of people know what they're doing. I've known people who are good at their jobs, good with people, have a good relationship with their families, and most importantly, they know themselves. They knew what they wanted, learned how to do it, and then did it. They're happy and successful. I'm not one of these people, but I've known them. I just wanna pick their minds and learn from them. I love this. I work in research and development. We know what we are doing when we are done. Our job is to decide what the best thing to do is. Most jobs require you to do again what's been done. We are brought in when what's been done is not right, or nobody has done the thing that gets the desired result. Our job is to do it, and all the things we might do, but ultimately shouldn't, first. Our toolset is split into a strong knowledge of modularized and composable things to do to get somewhere in a general sense. Rigorous experimentation and refinement expertise to test adding stuff that hasn't been done, and determine whether or not we are approaching or departing where we want to be by doing it. And the taste, experience, and intuition required to polish the path and make it as easy as possible for others to follow. We do no pretending. But at the start of a new project we don't know what to do. We start by figuring out an initial approach, which is separated into distinct parts. We rapidly prototype, and on each iteration we modify, replace, or split parts, until we end up exactly where we want to be. Our final product is one or more good paths polished to make our known unknown into a known knowns. Generally several or often hundreds of bad paths made up of reusable parts we can try later, when we feel they may fit elsewhere. Domain expertise, and often discoverers of new opportunities of other places we can go. So it's weird because, yeah, nobody knows what they're doing, because none of us have done living before. But we also live in an age where the ability to access knowledge has never been easier. So I feel like it's less about knowing what you're doing, and more about deciding that you want to have an impact, goals and a path, or if you're reacting to life as it happens to you. Pretty much. Oftentimes, no matter how conscious or knowledgeable I think I'm in certain avenues, it's only when I'm in autopilot that I feel like I know what I'm doing. That's what I've been doing, and I made it 25 years so far, with some help. The only thing that's bullshit about that statement is the idea that anyone knows what they're doing, even after they make it. What do you mean? A lot of my friends say this, but I don't really get it. I'm 22 and I feel like I know what I'm doing. Most of the time. I know how to pay my bills and my rent. I can cook and do housework. I know how to do my job. I'm working to save up so I can go traveling at some point. I find time for hobbies and exercise and reading and learning new stuff. Is there anything else? I don't get what else it is that I'm supposed to know. When we were all kids we thought adults were all knowing. Now that we are adults we realize we aren't and that freaks us out. It's all good though. Raising kids is particularly troubling for many, including myself. Until I realized that the parenting books and court of public opinion are total horseshit. I have developed my own parenting manual. 1. Do bedtime on time. Every night. 2. Do your best not to lose your shit. 3. Repeat steps 1 and 2. Nobody really knows what they are doing, and we're all just pretending we do until we make it. I just basically described all of academic research. Fake it was until you make it. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.